Hello, BookTube. This is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book. I've got a Friday reads today. I've not done one in a little while because I've been reading some chunky Victorian books. So um, let's talk about some of those. Actually, the first one I read was in Shake Timber in September. Um, and it was I thought this would be a good book to transition from Shorty September um, to Victober, and that was Anthony Trollope's Dr. Wortle's School. I held up a big pile of unread Trollope books in one of my videos, and Joe Smith told me that this is a good one, so I gave it a go, and it is a good one. It's very short for a Trollope, and I would have happily sort of stayed with these characters for another 300 or so pages to make it a normal Trollope sized book. It's a story about Dr. Wortle, who's runs a preparatory school, and he is sort of very lovely character, a bit can be a bit stern maybe, um, and he's trying to find a sort of second in command. He he finds it very difficult, but eventually he does. He finds a man who went to Oxford, where he's also educated at Oxford, like most people in Trollope novels, I guess. But this guy has a question around his past, in that he, after Oxford, left and taught in America for 5 years, and no one really knows anything about what he did there. So this kind of minor detail in someone's life it is quite a big deal in the Victorian village, where there's lots of gossipy characters, and there's a great sort of gossipy old lady in this that is a constant thorn in Dr. Wortle's side. So this man, they eventually, I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you don't want to hear any sort of spoilers, they find out that his wife, who everyone loves, all the children love both of them. They find out that his wife, his previous husband, is actually still alive, and um, they had been told that he wasn't. So this is a huge deal, and he has to basically stop working at the school and go to America and find out. So this book is about, it sort of follows both stories. The Dr. Wortle at home, who defends the man, that defends the teacher, and tries to keep the school together, with lots of gossipy people saying bad things about him for for daring to hire this teacher who has accidentally married an already married woman. Like, it's not like he did it on purpose. But yeah, Dr. Wortle's a very sweet character, and he sticks by by the man. So it follows Dr. Wortle's side of things, and it also follows the teacher. His name is Peacock, as he goes to America and travels around and tries to find this ex-husband, who is a very sort of strange character, um, sort of drunken madman with a dodgy brother as well, who's also in the story. But yeah, it packs quite a lot into the little 300-page novel, and it has the usual Trollope charms in it, and it does have really lovable characters in which is in contrast to something I will be talking about later. Um, then the only other book I've completed is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and this is the first, or I should say the second ever Charles Dickens that I've completed. So I completed A Christmas Carol, which is like an afternoon's reading, and I enjoyed Christmas Carol, but it it's a story everyone knows already. So I didn't really feel like it was a good judge of Dickens. And then I have DNF'd the Pickwick Papers, which um, I didn't get very far into it all, so I don't really think that was a fair judge. But I did get over 200 pages into Bleak House, which I think, in reflection, was probably a mistake to try and read Bleak House as one of my first full length. Well, it would have been my first full length Dickens, because that was such an ensemble cast, and I was just bored that he was still introducing characters by 200 pages in. I didn't really care about any of those characters. Um, but I did get all the way through Great Expectations, and I did enjoy it in parts. I enjoyed the beginning. We follow Pip, who's he's an orphan child who lives with his sister, and his sister's husband Joe, who's the local blacksmith, and he comes across some escaped um, prisoners in a graveyard. I think it is. Like, if I remember correctly, I seem to feel like it's in a graveyard in my head. And he sort of helps them escape by stealing a file and giving it to them. And I think they're eventually sort of recaught or something, and the novel goes on, and then it's more about Pip's his great expectations are that he gets a mysterious benefactor who pays for him to go to London and be educated and stuff. But there's also this sort of side character, Mrs. Havisham, who's an old lady who sits in a wedding dress and is stuck in the past, and Estelle, who's an actual psychopath. It seems to me like she's got no emotions, and she's basically been bred by Mrs. Havisham to break boys' hearts. And obviously Pip falls in love with Estelle. And then there's the middle part of the love was a lot of nonsense in London. I just got lost. I got bored of it in the middle. Um, there's something about Dickens's the way he writes characters that I don't get along with, and I can't really put my finger on what it is. And also, his writing itself, I find quite hard to follow. I find it quite jumpy. But then when I hear bits of it read out, I do appreciate it more. Maybe I should try an audiobook with Dickens, but which is something I don't really like doing. But yeah, it's something about the way he writes characters, because if a Victorian novel is really long and meandering because of the serialization or the word count thing, I can get over that. If I love the characters, I will happily stay with the characters, doing almost nothing. I'm a very sort of character loving reader, and the with Dickens, I just don't. I just didn't really like the characters, and I didn't really care about them. Pip was okay. I think I found this one easier because it was from one character's perspective rather than jumping around. So that was good. I liked his friend Wemmick. Is it? His every scene with Wemmick in that Wemmick's house, I liked. That might not be the correct pronunciation. But I didn't like Mrs. Havisham and Estelle. I liked Joe, was obviously lovely, but Pip was a bit annoying. But yeah, I didn't get along with it that well. I did finish. I liked it enough to finish it though, and I thought the the way it wrapped up was okay. But I just thought the middle and the second half was very dull to me, and so it was a bit of a struggle. Then also, I although I hate to contrast the two, I was reading Anthony Trollope's The Way We Live now at the same time. So this is a good example of what I was saying earlier. So Trollope writes great characters, I think. Not as high nuance as someone like George Eliot, but I think it sort of somewhere in the middle between Eliot and Dickens, where I think Dickens' characters are quite caricatures almost, and I think that might be one of why maybe it's also because I saw so much Dickens on TV when I was a kid, and to me they're ridiculous characters. So that might be enough reason why I can't get on board with him. I feel like Trollope's in the middle of that, and George Eliot. His characters can be a bit silly as well, but I think they've got a bit more nuance to them and a bit more detail. Um, and yeah, so in this book, which I'm actually on the same pace as everyone. I'm reading 3 chapters a day and then 4 at the weekend. There's not a lot of likable characters really. It's everyone has it's Trollope's angry book about the youth of today basically, and the youth of today of his day in this book are scoundrels. So and this is a huge ensemble cast again. The problem I had with Bleak House, but I like it in this. I guess it's just it must be writing style. And yeah, Trollope's the one for me. So I've been really enjoying reading this, and I'm impressed with myself for actually stopping at 3 chapters each day, because I'm not a person who tends to read multiple books at once. But yeah, I'll do obviously a full look into that when we're finished. But I am loving that. The other thing I'm reading at the same time when I finish my chapters, although I've been very slow, is Elizabeth Gaskell's Cranford, and this is it. I'm instantly loving this. I find it weird. My first Elizabeth Gaskell was her Gothic Tales, and I didn't think they were that good. And I thought it was weirdly badly edited. But then I read North and South earlier this year, and I loved North and South, and I think I love this even more so far. It might be because I love old lady books, and this follows a bunch of old ladies in a village. It's just so one, it's much funnier than North and South. I didn't realise she could be so funny, and two, it's sort of very sweet characters, and so I'm just sort of going from laughter to to the verge of tears every 5 minutes reading this. But it's beautifully written, and it's very short as well. So, um, unlike North and South, uh, it I feel like Gaskell's going to be one of my favourite Victorian writers behind maybe Trollope. Uh, um, because North and South was so good to me. This is already really good, and then everyone says Wives and Daughters is their favourite, so uh, it's gonna I'm gonna have to read everything she wrote basically. So yeah, really enjoying this. And also one thing I would point out is I watched Kate Howe's video with a Victorian sort of food expert. I can't remember her name, Professor Alice something. I think I'll put a link in the comments. But you need to watch this video. It's over an hour long, so some people might skip it, but it's so good, and it's about how into Victorians wrote about food, and the professor specifically mentioned how good Gaskell is in it. And that now when I'm reading this, I see it all the time in the little things she was referring to, the way they use food to show class. And this edition, also these Oxford University Press editions, have great notes in them, so that helps as well. But it just shows how watching BookTube can change your appreciation of a novel. And yeah, that video was brilliant, so I highly recommend going and watch that. Right, that's my Friday reads. BookTube, what are you reading Victorian wise? I have read all Victorian this month. Oh, I actually forgot another book. I also read Carmilla, um, which was uh, Le Fanu. Le Fanu, his name is, isn't it? Yeah, J. Sheridan Le Fanu. This was a very short vampire book written 26 years before Dracula. So, and Le Fanu was Irish, so I'm guessing he was a big influence on Bram Stoker. This is a very strange sort of lesbian vampire movie from set in Austria. Not movie, book So it was very unusual, unusual writing style. Incredibly sexually charged for a Victorian novel. I found it very sort of, yeah. Well, sexually charged is the only word I can think of. But it's the story of a young girl who lives with her sort of widowed father in an obscure Austrian Schloss, as they're called, castle. And they have these visitors who could, well, not visitors. This carriage crashes outside their castle, and this woman comes and says, "Oh, can you look after my daughter, Carmilla?" Um, was I can't explain why, but I have to ride off and come back in 3 months. They're just like, yeah, go on, because the daughter's lonely anyway. She's got no friends. Like no one lives around the castle, and then this girl lives with them for months and months and months, and is very affectionate, let's say. And then in obviously in the neighborhood, there's all these people who are like talking about getting bitten and dying. But it's got some of yeah, it's got a lot of the classic vampire tropes. I found it really interesting. It makes me wonder where every vampire trope comes from, because obviously uh, Bram Stoker must have set a lot of them, but this had many of the vampire tropes, um, the appearing as an animal and other things, and sort of doing stuff at night. Although she is in the day, and there's no mention of garlic, but there's stakes through the heart and cutting off of the head and things like that. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. And it's like 100 pages, so I recommend Carmilla. And I still haven't read Dracula, so it's terrible. But I feel like it now. I've got a good base to go on to Dracula, which I am going to try and read after Cranford. Yeah, so that is my Friday reads. What are you guys reading? Have any of you read Camilla? That I'd be interested to know. And I know other people. I know Le Fanu is famous for his ghost stories and things, so I'd be interested to hear if people have enjoyed those. And do you get along with Dickens? I know most people do, and that's what annoys me. I would love to like Dickens, I just don't seem to be able to. Right, have a good one, BookTube. Bye bye.